Hello everyone, welcome back students to the session. In the previous session we have discussed about the full subject, right? We had talked about the what is construction equipment, what are the different types, what is automation, how both of them differ from each other, what is this full subject related to, what is this subject about, what are the course outcomes, right? All of these things are already discussed. I suggest that before watching this lecture, before directly heading to this lecture, you are supposed to watch the introduction lecture so that it will give you an idea that what you are going to exactly study in this subject. So now students, we are starting with the first important topic related to the equipment. First students, we are going to discuss about the construction equipment part, the standardized, the traditional equipment, and then we will be moving forward to the automation part. Now, first we have is classification of construction equipment. Now, I think I have given you a small idea, a brief idea related to what are the different type of equipment. I have talked certain things in the last lecture, but today let us talk about the exact classification which you are also supposed to write down in your exams if it is asked. So the first type of classification which we have is, it is intermittent type and continuous type. Okay, this is the general classification of your construction equipment. Continuous type, it means that continuously it is going to operate it throughout the work for the day or for the specific period of time. While the intermittent type is the opposite of the continuous type. It means that there will be various operating cycles regarding the same. If we talk about the concrete mixers, right? Now again, concrete mixers will be of two types. We will have continuous type and we will have intermittent type. So for the continuous type, constantly concrete will be manufactured and simultaneously it will be placed on the site, and this will be done throughout the working period. While in intermittent type, batches of concrete will be prepared, and likewise when the batches are prepared and simultaneously placing work will be done, but it will be based on the operating cycles. So this is how you can classify the intermittent type and continuous type of equipment. Next classification of equipment you have is based on automation, right? Now again, I am again going to take example of concrete mixers, because in concrete mixers we have manually operated, we have semi-automatic, and we have fully automatic. Likewise, we have cranes which will be semi-automatic, some will be fully automatic, right? There will be operating chamber, right? Sometimes in operating chamber things would be semi-automatic. You just have to press the controls and you have to take the hold and carry out the work. Same is the case in excavators also. So based on the automation, nature of automation, we have is manually operated, semi-automatic and fully automatic equipment. Next we have is based on standardization, right? I am also flashing some examples over here regarding the intermittent type and continuous type. I am going to give examples for everything, but let us first have a look at the classification. So the last type of classification which we have is based on standardization. I had talked in the previous session, students, if you remember, that if I talk about standard equipment, that is your, for example, say even excavator, then it will be same all over the country. The manufacturing will be same, standard. And if you talk about belt conveyors, then you will have to design it accordingly, according the requirements. So this makes the category of special equipment and standard equipment, right? Then there will be various parameters by which you can compare these two type of equipment, and it is important to know the difference between these two. So we are going to study that. So here we have is what are the intermittent type, which it means that it is based on operating cycles, so for specified time. We have is bulldozer, we have scraper, we have concrete mixers or power shovels, even aggregate crushers, right? These are operated based on operating cycle. Now in the concrete mixer, I already told you that again you can have continuous type, that is based on the site requirements. And the continuous type will be the belt conveyors. Throughout constantly throughout the work, belt conveyors are kept on and continuously the work goes on. Similar is the case with the air compressors when they are used for whatsoever purpose. And then based on standard and special equipment, as I told you. Now standard equipment, here they are considering a canal trimmer as the standard equipment. Have a look at the image over here. I think you will be able to see the image. Yes, this is an example of a canal trimmer. It means the excavation work which has to be performed specifically for the canal. Slopes have to be provided. You know how a canal is, right? So here the equipment you can see is an example of a canal trimmer. This will be standard throughout the country. And second, if I talk about the special equipment, then it is your belt conveyors. I think you have seen in your life what is a belt conveyor, but still I am flashing another image over here which you can see. This is your example of a belt conveyor, right? Now let us move forward with the discussion regarding standard equipment versus special equipment. Now, as I told you that there are certain equipment, certain types which will be standard throughout the country, and there will be some which have to be designed. So let us talk about the parameters. I think these points you will be able to write on your own also, but let us discuss quickly. So the standard equipment will be used commonly in all type of project, while the special, as the name itself says, it will be used for special purposes only. Next we have is it is manufactured commonly and easily available from all dealers. As I said that if it is standard throughout the country, the manufacturer is going to manufacture the same standard equipment everywhere, and it is easily available, while in the special equipment it has to be designed. Next we have is initial investment. Of course, if it is manufactured in bulk, then the initial investment will be low. While in the special equipment, investment cost will be more, that is the initial cost, right? Next we have is resale price. Resale price will be higher because again it is going to be reused easily in the market, right? For example, if it is a bulldozer, then obviously it is going to be reused anywhere in the market in the construction, while these special equipment may not have resale price higher because it fits only depending on certain site conditions. Next we have is delivery is easy and fast because it will be easily available. Obviously then delivery will be faster, and here it has to be designed. It can be delayed because of designing specifically. The delivery may be delayed sometimes. Next we have is rent. If you are renting the equipment, if you are not purchasing the equipment, the rent will be lower as compared to the special equipment. I think this is understood. I don't need to go further in very much depth. Okay, so next the common type of equipment which we are going to talk about in our academics. First we have is excavator. Then we have earth moving equipment. It means the soil, right? Earth moving means removing a large portion of soil from the ground. That is earth moving equipment. Next we have is hauling equipment, right? You have to transport heavy loads, that is hauling equipment. Then we have hoisting and conveying equipment, that is belt conveyors. Pumping, that is concrete pumps are available for forcing the concrete at a greater height. Then we have compaction equipment. You have studied that in concrete technology. Pile driving is also studied by you. Then we have drilling equipment. You know what is a driller. Dredging equipment, you have studied about the dredging work in the topic which was related to caissons, right? You have to carry out the dredging work, excavate the seabed. Then we have aggregate crushers, right? So these are the most common type of equipment which are studied in your academics and which you are also supposed to know in detail. Next we are going to move about the financial aspects of the construction equipment, but before that let us discuss about the factors affecting selection of the construction equipment, right? What particular type of equipment you are going to opt for the particular type of project depends on the various factors. I think students, for studying any kind of topic, for studying any kind of new things, you always have to consider certain factors, certain parameters. Based on that your type will be selected, right? So let us talk about the first factor, that is use of the standard equipment. Now you know the difference between standard equipment and special equipment already. So it says that maximum use of standard equipment is going to help you give benefit more, because its initial cost will be lower, its rent will be lower, its resale price will be higher, right? So as much as possible, standard equipment, if it is used, then you will have lots of benefits. Next, we have a size of the equipment. It says that for smaller jobs you have to opt for small equipment. You can even rent for them instead of purchasing. That will be better, right? See, all of these things is going to derive about the finance only, that how much efficiency you can gain, how much more efficiency you can gain, and how much less finance can be done. Next, yes, you have is uniformity of type, right? Uniformity means that you can interchange the parts of the equipment. If you have bulldozers, if you have cranes, if you have excavator, right? So it should be such that the parts can be interchanged within themselves, so that you do not have to have extra cost for different parts. So that is uniform machines. Country of origin, you have to import and you have to export the machines only from where you have the exchange facilities. That is obvious thing. Initial cost, if you are going to have repetitive type of works, then it is better that you take the equipment which is going to be reused again and again, and you can buy that in that case. Then we have is unit cost, the production cost, right? The production cost should be as low as possible. The output should be maximum. Spare parts should be easily available. The operating facilities, it is generally done by the skilled labor. So operators, you have to check about their availability. And the suitability for future. It means that how you can utilize it in future. Next, students, we are going to talk about the financial aspects related to construction equipment. Now, students, if I ask you that I want to build a G+10 building, right? And you have the list of different equipment which are required for performing the work. Now, I will give you two options, whether you can buy the equipment or you can hire the equipment. Now, students, if I ask you that what are the factors on which it will depend, that if whether you will buy the equipment or you will hire the equipment, right? I think you will be able to think on your own also, that in what cases you should buy and in what cases you should hire, right? So let us talk about some financial aspects related to the same. So here, first of all, you should know that most of the manufacturers who are providing these equipment take around 10 to 30% advance payment of the total payment without any commitment of timely delivery, or even without any penalty charges, right? This is a standard procedure in market. Always at least 10% advance is always taken by the manufacturer. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that the initial cost will have to be borne by you, right? Now the equipment may be of 10 lakh, 20 lakhs, so 10% of the same will not be a smaller amount. So you have to see that what is the demand of the manufacturer, how it is available, what is the nature of your work, if your equipment is going to be reused again and again, or say if you have more construction projects which are going to come, or if it is a small time work, or if it is a work for limited period, then I think you will be able to decide you can purchase or hire. There are also certain calculations regarding the same which you can perform, which we will study in detail also, but this is just a basic knowledge whether you will buy or you will hire. So when should you buy or when should you hire? As I told you, if it is a long-term work, if you are going to reuse it again, if it is a big construction work, then buying will be a good option for you. Otherwise, you can hire it. Okay, so it also says management problems are faced in this sector. Yes, that is correct. Financing, right? The finance management is the aspect where the majority problems are faced, because a skilled person has to carry out the financing to have the maximum output with minimum loss. Okay, now moving forward to the sources of the equipment. So how are you going to purchase the equipment, right? How are you going to purchase, or how you are going to hire the equipment? So I have cut it short to a flow chart over here. Let us talk about the same. Now, first of all, we have two options, right? You can buy the equipment, you can hire the equipment. Now, we also have third option, right? We have on lease, right? When you talk about properties, you take either property on rent or you take property on lease. So there are three options over here. Look at the flow chart which is flashing over here, which I have made it for you. You are also supposed to write this in your exams. So if the equipment is required for long term, then you have to purchase it, right? And if it is required for short term, then you have to rent it. For longer term, either you can buy it or you can lease it, right? Lease and rent are somewhat going to be same, but in lease you can have an option to rent it for now and then buy it later on. You can have that option in the lease. And next, if you are buying, then for buying you will have three options. First, you are going to provide the cash down payment. Down payment is a must in any kind of purchases which you make, be it land, be it property, be it buildings, or be it machine. It is going to remain the same. This finance is going to remain the same in everything. Then we have is mobilized loans, right? Now, who are going to give these loans to the companies, the construction companies? So we have certain industrial sector banks related to this finance of the construction equipment, and those industrial banks and sectors are going to give mobilized loans. And last we have is installment, right? Either equated monthly installment or yearly installment. You can purchase that way also. So these are the three options by which you can buy the equipment. And if you are taking it on lease, then you can time lease. It means that you are taking it for time being, you are renting it, and then you can have the option to purchase it later. So lease with buying it later. This is same as the real estate, how you lease and how you rent. The legal agreement and contracts will be made, and this is how the financing, the full financing of your construction equipment is done. This is just a general idea. We are going to move in depth with different calculations further. Next, we have is cost of owning and operating construction equipment, right? What do you mean by cost of owning and operating? Now students, if I ask you owning, it means you are purchasing the equipment, you are making your equipment own, right? Now once you have made your equipment own, once you have purchased it, it does not end over there, right? You are going to operate that equipment. The equipment is going to need maintenance, it is going to need repairs, right? Sometimes it happens that it completely breaks down. Sometimes it happens that you have to replace it. There are lots of factors to be considered once you have owned the equipment. Once you have bought the equipment, you are going to talk about various costs that will be categorized as cost of operating. So together it is cost of owning and operating equipment. So let us have a look over here. It says that the cost of owning and operating construction equipment depends on the size of the project. That is clear. And it also depends on the type of equipment you are using. Sometimes it happens that for years it does not require any kind of repair. Sometimes it happens that in the initial phase it breaks down and it requires maintenance and repair. Spare parts have to be replaced sometimes. So all of these things have to be considered. Petrol, diesel, whatever fuel which is adopted for running the engine of the equipment, that is also to be included in the cost of operating, right? So for normal building construction, 5% of the total cost of the project, and for heavy construction, 80% of the total cost of project is categorized in cost of owning and operating. So you can imagine that these costs will be very large, and this is the reason why we are discussing so much about the finance of the construction equipment, right? Now talking about certain factors, it is the cost, the total cost of the equipment to be delivered, on which it will depend. The demand of the equipment, right? If it is useful for a longer time, if the demand is going to become obsolete in future. Obsolete means when the technology gets replaced fully, that means obsolete, right? So number of hours to be used per year, generally it is calculated based on the working hours per month or per year, and severity of the condition. See, if you are working under water, or if you are dealing with underground water, you are pumping subsoil water. So severity of the conditions decide what type of equipment you are going to take, and its finance, and the state of maintenance and repairs, which I already told you. Okay. Okay students, so let us keep till now here. Also please have a look at the image. The leftmost image which you can see is an example of a backhoe loader which is having an excavator mounted at back, and the bucket type of equipment mounted in the front. So simultaneously it will excavate and it will take the material, and this is an example of a backhoe loader. And the one which we have right on the top, that is aggregate crusher. Aggregates are crushed artificially with the help of equipment. All of these will be discussed further in detail. So let us keep here till here now students. We will discuss about more technical terms and finance related topics in the next session. Thank you students.